Thank you for that gracious introduction. And let me thank all of you who have come to Washington to remind us of the urgency of now and why this is not only a campaign for what is just, but also for what is right. Le agradezco a todos ustedes que han venido desde muchas partes de la nación en un peregrinaje aquí a Washington para recordarnos no solamente lo que es justo, pero lo que es correcto para nuestra nación. Y eso es una reforma inmigratoria amplia para que todos podamos salir de la oscuridad a la luz y participar plenamente en nuestra sociedad. Now, we have been on this journey for some time. It has been a difficult one. We have not gotten to our final destination. And so we are here together to remind the nation and its leaders of why we need to move forward and why we have, as I say, an urgency of now. I know that as someone who has, since he got to the United States Senate, and even before that in the House of Representatives, has been a champion on this issue because I believe it is in the national interest, it is in the national security interest, and it is in basic, decent human dignity that we have comprehensive immigration reform. But we need to be able to move towards action. And that's why, joined by Congresswoman Nydia Velázquez, the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, and Congressman Luis Gutierrez, who is the chair of the Immigration Committee for the caucus, we have come together to move a plan of action so that we can move forward. It starts with our call to the Majority Leader of the United States Senate, Harry Reid, to give us a vote, an up or down vote on the DREAM Act so that we can take our young people We believe that as a first test of our commitment to this goal, that this is about as pure as one can get in the overall immigration debate. We have young people throughout this country who were brought here by their parents. They were not part of the decision-making process as to whether to come to America or not. They have learned the American way of working hard and being able to fulfill their God-given potential. And many of them have become the brightest students in their classes, the salutatorians, the valedictorians of their classes, and yet they cannot go on to college. Many of them desire to be able to serve the nation in its armed forces. And in doing either one of those opportunities, ultimately be able to fulfill and resolve their immigration status. It seems to me that a nation that deals with the importance of children and that says from both parties that children are our most precious resource, that in fact we would want to ensure that that precious resource fulfills all of its potential. And that's why we want a vote on the DREAM Act without amendments so we can know who stands with those students and that most precious resource in the United States Senate and send a message to the House of Representatives that they should do the same. And I'm glad to know that Senator Reid has said that he will do exactly that. Give us a vote. If we can get to it, if we can get to that vote under the Defense Authorization Bill, where we would have an amendment strictly on DREAM. Secondly, I will introduce legislation, not a framework, but legislation in the United States Senate outlining comprehensive immigration reform, something that we can rally around, work for, and be able to will be able to ensure that we secure our country as we all want it to, that we look at how we deal with the economic needs of our country, but it will also have a pathway to earn legalization for those who are in the shadows to be able to come into the full light and observe the dignity that they deserve with what they are helping America to achieve. And so we will pursue that legislation in the Senate, and we will create a clear basis of what we see. I believe that comprehensive immigration reform is in the national security interests. I'd rather know who is here to pursue the American dream versus who is here to do it any harm. And we will never know that unless we bring people out of the darkness into the light. I believe that the economy is not a reason to oppose immigration reform. It is a reason to have immigration reform, because we can never have a subclass of workers until we bring everybody up forward. And finally, I believe that the dignity of each and every individual and the concept of family values that we hear so often in the Senate needs to be preserved. We cannot see families ripped apart. That is not my concept of family values. And lastly, it is unacceptable that United States citizens and legal permanent residents of the United States find themselves, like this gentleman who has served his country, find themselves often in the difficulty of not being able either to adjust their status, or United States citizens and legal permanent residents who are caught up in immigration raids and unlawfully detained against their constitutional rights. I know of over 200 cases of United States citizens and legal permanent residents who have been unlawfully detained in violation of their rights. Who among us would accept second-class citizenship in this country? Certainly not us, and we cannot allow a process that allows a U.S. citizen and legal permanent resident to be held in an immigration detention center against their constitutional rights. So I'll close by saying simplemente de que vamos a tener un voto en el DREAM Act para darle a nuestros estudiantes la oportunidad de realizar sus sueños, de participar plenamente en nuestra sociedad. Son entre los estudiantes más ejemplares que hemos visto. No hicieron decisiones para venir aquí en este país en el primer lugar, y ahora no debemos tener un obstáculo para ellos poder realizar no solamente sus sueños, pero aportar a este país, sea en una universidad o sea en servir la nación con las Fuerzas Armadas y ajustar su estatus en este país. Y vamos a tener un voto, la congresista Nidia Velázquez, como el presidente del Caucus Hispano, el congresista Luis Gutiérrez y yo, todos le hemos pedido al senador Reid, el líder de la mayoría en el Senado, que nos dé un voto, y él ha dicho que nos va a dar un voto en el DREAM Act. Y ese es el primer paso hacia la victoria que queremos lograr. El segundo paso es que vamos a tener legislación que yo voy a introducir en el Senado de los Estados Unidos, que describe ampliamente, incluyendo el Ag Jobs Bill, que es muy importante, como parte de la reforma inmigratoria amplia que queremos. Pensamos que este es un momento en el cual debemos tener no solamente un concepto, pero la propuesta de una ley que enseña bien que vamos a defender la nación, que vamos a liderar con el tema de la economía, pero también que le vamos a dar una vía a la legalización a millones de personas que aportan a este país. Y por último, yo creo que no es aceptable en un país que se reconoce por su constitución y sus derechos abajo de esa constitución, de tener ciudadanos americanos, residentes permanentes, personas que han servido en el ejército de los Estados Unidos, encontrarse detenidos en un centro de inmigración en contra de sus derechos constitucionales. No podemos ser ciudadanos de segunda clase, no aceptamos ese estatus en este país y vamos a luchar en contra de eso. Vamos a luchar por una reforma inmigratoria amplia y le vamos a realizar ese sueño a esos estudiantes en el DREAM Act. Muchísimas gracias por todo.